Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm going to be talking to you today about TED Talks. Now, I'm pretty sure we all know what TED Talks are, so I'm going to start with the very first TED Talk. So that was in 1984 by the man who founded TED Talks, and his name was Richard Wurman. Now, Wurman had an idea about TED, and he wanted this to be like the ultimate dinner party. So he wanted people to attend this conference where he would have presenters on stage, but he would also be on stage. And it wouldn't be scripted like it is today. So basically, it would be like them presenting their ideas and inventions and aspirations for the future. And then Wurman would also be able to interact with them. Now, these were handpicked presenters, and they were on a stage in front of people, much like the TED that's today. However, even during the very first TED Talk, they talked about things like the compact disc, or the first e-reader, or even the very first 3D printing. And while these were great topics, for some reason, the very first TED Talk was a complete flop. So Wurman went back to the drawing board, and for about 6 years, we hadn't heard anything about TED Talks. Then, after that 6 years, Wurman came back and gave it another shot, and TED completely took off. People loved it. People loved how informative it was, and how also they were able to get this information and hear about other people's aspirations. But then TED started to change and evolve, and Wurman wasn't sure that was necessarily what he had intended, and he put the company up for sale. And it was bought by the Sapling Foundation, which is a nonprofit, and then the curator ended up being Chris Anderson. And that's kind of when TED became what it is today. It turned into the scripted, less than 20-minute videos presented still on a stage with the intent of inspiring and talking about technology and advances and education and all kinds of things that really get people excited and willing to listen. And it was still in front of an audience, and this audience is still handpicked. So the first ever conference was completely handpicked by Mr. Wurman. Now, of course, the TED conferences are streamed online, so everyone can see them. But to be in the actual audience, you have to have an invitation. Or you can apply for one, and you either are accepted or denied. That's kind of a way that TED is able to mainstream, I guess, their who sees their things. So the original presentation is only seen by people who are handpicked by the TED company. And, of course, the presenters are handpicked by the TED board. So it's sometimes thought of as an elite source. So they only allow the elites, and they try and make it diverse in groups, but you still need to have an invitation and you still need to be invited. But without the nonprofit, TED would have never been what it is today. So because of this extra funding and extra support that it got through the nonprofit, TED is able to put their talks online for free, and it's given them a lot more access by the average person. So, like me, necessarily, I wouldn't have ever seen a TED Talk if it hadn't been online for free. I probably wouldn't pay for it, and I'm not sure I would ever get invited, unless there was one at Bloomsburg, then possibly. But other than that, I would have to go out of my way to try and get involved. And I'm not an engineer, so I have no inventions, so I'm not necessarily sure that I would be picked. So that's one of the ways that I think that TED kind of decides their audience, in a sense. However, it is online for free, which is great because it gives access to many more people, which is one of the ways that TED has been able to stay relevant. In views and in projecting information out, they're able to get it out for free to a ton of people online. So when I was doing this project, I decided that I would make my own account again. Well, I already had one, but I made a new one. And I wanted to see how TED categorized me. So when you first make an account, it asks you 2 questions. What interests you? And it gives options like health, technology, nature, child development. And in total, there's 19 options, and you can select them all, but I just selected a couple. And then the second one is, what are you looking for? And it gives options like new perspective, inspiration, and a sense of hope. In total, there's 9. And in this section, I did select them all because I didn't want them to know what I wanted. But they picked pretty good because the first recommended video was one about can the brain repair itself? That was the title of it. And I'm a nursing major and I'm interested in advances in health and development. And while I already pretty much knew the answer because of my own research and things that I've been exposed to in the hospital, I still was interested, so I listened. And I ended up knowing basically everything that he told me, but I was still engaged and excited because of the way that it was presented. It was presented formally, but also with a lot of passion and inspiration. And I think that that's why TED is able to stay relevant. They put things online that make people want to pay attention. And then they make it accessible to a bunch of people. So you can share them on Facebook and Twitter and get other people's feedback and get excited about it. I think that TED has really taken off, and with its nonprofit, it's been able to help help categories like education and get things out there for people who are in the education field and get information out globally. So instead of this conference only being in California, they're able to reach a global spectrum. And now TED has a TED translator, which will translate your TED Talk into over 100 languages, which makes it accessible to a lot of people around the world, which really helps TED to stay relevant. I think that TED is a great social media outlet. Instead of spending 40 minutes on Facebook when I'm procrastinating, I'll try and just watch a TED Talk. It's less than 20 minutes. It's enough to get my mind off of whatever I'm on, and that's why I pick it. So if you're trying to feel a little inspired and maybe trying to waste a little time, but not too much time, maybe you should turn to a TED Talk. Anyway, thanks for listening, and I hope that you have a great day.